Look around you. Seriously, take a moment. Everything you see, the roads you drive on, the massive skyscrapers, the complex technology in your hand, it was all built on the bedrock of human knowledge. We, as a species, believe we understand the world. We have history books, timelines, and neat, clean narratives about how civilization progressed from the Stone Age to where we are now. But what if I told you that entire crucial chapters of that story are missing? What if the people who came before us achieved feats of engineering and possessed knowledge that still, to this day, completely baffle our smartest scientists and archaeologists? We're not talking about simple ruins or faded pottery here. We're talking about colossal monuments, carved with machine-like precision, built by people who supposedly only had basic copper tools. We're talking about entire structures that rewrite the timeline of human civilization itself. Today, we're not just looking at the famous ones, though we will touch on the giants, the pyramids that puncture the sky, the colossal circles of Stonehenge, and the mysterious lines etched into the Peruvian desert. We're going deeper. We're venturing into the shadows to uncover the secrets held within impossible, lesser-known locations. Have you ever heard of a massive underground network of perfectly carved caves in China that has no historical record whatsoever? Or gigantic building blocks in Lebanon so heavy our best modern cranes would struggle to lift them? These 12 locations are archaeological cold cases. They are the artifacts that refuse to fit into our historical narrative, forcing us to ask the uncomfortable question: did an ancient, technologically advanced culture exist? One that was perhaps wiped clean from history? Get ready to challenge everything you thought you knew about the ancient world. From impossible stonework to secret messages in lost languages, these are the 12 unsolved ancient mysteries that still baffle archaeologists. You might want to sit down for this one. Let's begin with the undisputed champion of ancient mystery, the only remaining wonder of the ancient world, the Great Pyramid of Giza. When you stand before this monument, the statistics alone are overwhelming. We're talking about a structure that weighs approximately 6 million tons, constructed from over 2 million massive limestone and granite blocks. Some of these individual granite stones, particularly those used to roof the delicate chambers deep within the structure, like the King's Chamber, weigh up to 80 tons. To put that into perspective, an 80-ton block is roughly the weight of a modern jet airliner. And these ancient builders, supposedly using simple copper chisels and brute force, lifted and positioned them hundreds of feet in the air. Now, history books tell us this was built over a 20-year period, using only ramps, ropes, and sheer manpower. But let's engage our skepticism for a moment. If they worked continuously, day and night, 365 days a year for 20 years, they would have had to quarry, transport, and perfectly place a block every 2.5 minutes, non-stop. Think about the logistics of supplying food and water to a workforce of tens of thousands, sustaining that superhuman effort for 2 decades. And the precision, that's what truly breaks the traditional narrative. The 4 base sides are aligned almost perfectly with the cardinal directions: north, south, east, west. And the base itself is level within a fraction of an inch across the entire 13-acre footprint. We're talking about precision comparable to modern optical tooling. Furthermore, the casing stones were cut so precisely that you couldn't even slip a piece of paper between them. How could they achieve this level of relentless speed and astronomical accuracy without the benefit of steel tools, cranes, or even the fully developed wheel? Were the long, slow, muddy ramps truly the answer? Or did the ancient Egyptians possess a lost scientific secret, a method of levitation, sonic resonance, or some other form of technology that allowed them to manipulate these impossible stones like simple Lego bricks? The pyramid stands as a permanent, frustrating challenge to our understanding of ancient capability. Next, we cross the globe to the windswept Salisbury Plain in England, home to the enigmatic stone circle known as Stonehenge. While it may not reach the height of the pyramids, the sheer effort and planning involved make this mystery just as profound. Archaeologists trace the site's construction back to roughly 3000 BC, meaning it's actually older than the Great Pyramid. The structure is composed of two types of stone: the massive sarsen stones, which form the outer ring, and the smaller but equally crucial bluestones. The sarsen stones are locally sourced, weighing up to 30 tons each. But the bluestones are the true puzzle. They were quarried from the Preseli Hills in Wales, a staggering 140 miles away. Now think about that journey in the Neolithic era. We're talking about people who existed before metal was common, before the advent of the wheel for transport. How did these prehistoric people, using only rudimentary tools, manage to transport dozens of 5-ton stones across such a huge distance, crossing rivers, hills, and rough terrain? Was it hauled on sledges? Was it rolled on massive logs? Was it carried by rafts on rivers and along the coast? None of the proposed theories, which often involve hundreds of people and incredible logistical coordination, fully account for the required effort without modern tools. And the purpose? That remains the second major headache. Theories abound. Was it a ritualistic burial ground, a center for healing, or most popularly, a sophisticated astronomical calendar? The stones are precisely positioned to align with the sunrise on the summer solstice and the sunset on the winter solstice, proving its builders were keen observers of the cosmos. But why dedicate such impossible generations-long effort to track the seasons? It wasn't just about survival, it was about an obsession with the sky, a deep spiritual or scientific motivation that drove an entire culture to move mountains, literally, to build this sacred observatory. Stonehenge forces us to recognize that our so-called primitive ancestors had an advanced shared scientific understanding and a drive so powerful it defied all logistical common sense. Flying across the Pacific to the arid plateau of southern Peru, we encounter an entirely different kind of mystery: the Nazca lines. These aren't monuments built up, but images carved into the earth itself, so vast they are only truly discernible from the air. They were discovered on a massive scale only after the invention of flight. Imagine hundreds of colossal geoglyphs etched into a 300-square-mile desert plain. You have perfect geometric shapes, spirals, and incredibly intricate figures of animals. A spider, a monkey with 9 fingers, a condor with a 400-foot wingspan, and a figure sometimes referred to as the astronaut. Some of these figures span hundreds of yards, yet their lines remain mathematically straight, sometimes for miles across rugged terrain. The technique itself was simple. The builders simply cleared the reddish-brown iron oxide pebbles to expose the lighter subsoil underneath, but the execution was anything but. The primary puzzle is twofold: purpose and perspective. If you are creating an image meant to be seen from hundreds of feet in the air, who precisely is the intended audience? Was it for the gods, a massive ritual offering meant to appeal to a higher power in the sky? Were they part of a complex, enormous calendar, perhaps related to tracking weather patterns or water sources in a very dry climate? Many theories suggest they were ritual pathways that pilgrims walked along. Perhaps even more baffling is how they achieved such perfect scale and symmetry without the ability to gain an aerial perspective during construction. Did they use sophisticated surveying techniques, relying on ropes, grids, and geometric proportions projected onto the ground? Or, as some more fringe but persistent theories suggest, did they somehow have access to technologies that allowed for elevated platforms, perhaps even rudimentary hot air balloons, that we know nothing about? The Nazca lines offer a stunning vision of ancient artistic and engineering prowess, but their true meaning remains frustratingly locked in the skies above the Peruvian desert, challenging our every assumption about the technological limitations of the ancient world. Our next mystery takes us to one of the most remote inhabited places on Earth, Rapa Nui, or Easter Island. Scattered across this tiny, isolated volcanic island are nearly 1,000 colossal stone figures, the famous Moai. These statues are breathtaking. They stand up to 33 feet tall and weigh up to 82 tons, almost the same weight as the heaviest blocks in the pyramids. They were carved directly from compressed volcanic ash inside the Rano Raraku quarry. And here lies the enduring, simple question. How did the islanders transport and erect them? Remember, this is a small island culture with no wheeled vehicles, no draft animals, and critically, limited resources, especially timber. Anthropologists have offered various theories. They might have been walked upright using ropes and rocking motions, rolled on logs, or perhaps pulled on sleds. But the energy and engineering required to move the largest Moai for miles across uneven, undulating terrain is truly mind-boggling. The mystery is deepened by the fact that many statues were found either unfinished in the quarry or suddenly toppled over, known as hakakina, suggesting the project was abruptly abandoned or halted due to internal conflict. But the Moai tell a deeper, darker story that goes beyond engineering. The effort required to carve, move, and erect these statues likely led to the massive deforestation of the island, as the builders used precious trees for rollers, sleds, and levers. The prevailing theory suggests that the obsession with the Moai, perhaps symbols of their ancestors, clan leaders, or competition between tribes, led to a catastrophic ecological collapse. The resulting scarcity of resources, famine, and civil war caused the eventual destruction of the advanced culture that built them. The Moai, therefore, are a chilling and poignant reminder that an ancient civilization can collapse not from an external invasion, but from the unsustainable pursuit of an impossible, all-consuming project. Finally, we move from the clearly physical to the captivatingly philosophical, examining the enduring legend of the lost city of Atlantis. Unlike our previous sites, Atlantis is primarily a story, a detailed narrative first written down by the Greek philosopher Plato around 360 BC. He described it not as a myth, but as a historical fact, a magnificent, powerful island civilization, technologically advanced, located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which is the Strait of Gibraltar. Plato claimed Atlantis was built of concentric rings of land and water, rich in gold, silver, and exotic materials, and possessed a powerful naval empire that conquered parts of Europe and Africa. Crucially, he also established the timeline for its downfall, stating that Atlantis existed about 9,000 years before his own time. Its people, however, grew morally corrupt and arrogant, engaging in wars of aggression. As divine punishment, the entire island was consumed and sank into the ocean in a single day and night of misfortune. The mystery here isn't just where it is, but was it real at all? Most historians generally classify it as a cautionary tale, a philosophical device designed by Plato to illustrate the downfall of a perfect society corrupted by wealth and power. But the description is so detailed, so specific, that the search for a real, physical Atlantis has captivated researchers and dreamers for centuries. Potential candidates are numerous. The sudden collapse of the Minoan civilization after the devastating Thera volcano eruption in the Aegean, the eye-like geological structure in Mauritania known as the Richat structure, or the Eye of the Sahara, or sunken cities in the Mediterranean. If Atlantis was real, it represents the ultimate lost chapter. A civilization so advanced that it could be instantly wiped out by a cataclysm, leaving virtually no accepted trace. It serves as the ultimate, chilling warning about the sudden and complete fragility of even the greatest achievements. And until definitive, conclusive evidence is found, the question of whether a true super-civilization lies sleeping beneath the waves remains one of archaeology's greatest, most tantalizing unanswered prayers. We've seen the giants, the monuments so famous they define our image of the ancient world. But now, we leave the tourist trails. We're heading into the real rabbit hole, where the evidence is often more precise, more confusing, and far more challenging to the historical timeline we've accepted. Get ready to encounter the sites that truly make archaeologists lose sleep. These are the lesser-known 7, the shadow cases. Our first deep dive takes us to southeastern Turkey, to a remote hilltop known as Göbekli Tepe. If any single site completely demolishes the current historical narrative, it is this one. For centuries, the accepted timeline stated that humans began as simple hunter-gatherers. Then, around 10,000 years ago, they learned agriculture, settled down, and then began building complex structures like temples. Göbekli Tepe flips that timeline completely upside down. Discovered in the 1990s, this massive temple complex is estimated to be over 11,600 years old. That makes it thousands of years older than Stonehenge and the pyramids. The sheer age is the first shock. The people who built this were still technically hunter-gatherers. They had not yet perfected farming. Yet they organized themselves to carve, transport, and perfectly arrange massive, T-shaped limestone pillars, some weighing up to 20 tons, into meticulously planned circles. These pillars are carved with beautiful, complex reliefs of animals: snakes, boars, foxes, and birds. The second shock is its ultimate fate. After thousands of years of use, the entire site was deliberately and meticulously buried. They didn't abandon it, they covered it with earth and rock, preserving it perfectly. Why would a culture put so much effort into creating the world's first megalithic temple, only to suddenly decide to completely inter it for posterity? Göbekli Tepe proves that sophisticated religious and social organization, the desire to build monumental architecture, did not follow farming. It came first. The builders of this site possessed an advanced understanding of geometry and labor coordination that simply shouldn't have existed, according to our textbooks. Now we travel to Zhejiang province in China, to a quiet village that sits atop one of the most baffling engineering feats ever discovered, the Longyou Grottoes. This site is a mystery defined by its utter secrecy. In 1992, villagers draining a local pond discovered something incredible: a vast subterranean network of enormous hand-carved grottos. They found not one, not two, but 36 separate caves carved directly into solid siltstone. Each cave is massive, reaching heights of nearly 100 feet, and covers an area of almost 30,000 square meters. The volume of rock that was removed to create these chambers is estimated to be close to 1,000,000 cubic meters. But here is the impossible part. These caves are mathematically perfect. They are symmetrical, with smooth walls and ceilings supported by expertly placed load-bearing columns. The walls are covered entirely with equidistant chisel marks, forming a uniform parallel pattern, suggesting a systematic, coordinated process using specific tools. The biggest secret of the Longyou Grottoes isn't how they were built, though that remains challenging, but why there is absolutely no historical record of their existence. Not one mention in any imperial document, local history, or folklore. The amount of manpower and time required to execute this project would have been staggering. It could have taken thousands of laborers decades, yet it was executed in total silence. Were they mining? Were they barracks? A colossal imperial tomb? We have no idea. The Longyou Grottoes exist outside of recorded history, challenging the integrity of Chinese historical records and implying a hidden, large-scale society that operated in complete secrecy. Let's move to the Bekaa Valley in Lebanon, the site of the ancient Roman temple of Jupiter at Baalbek. While the visible ruins are Roman, the true mystery lies beneath, or rather, in the colossal foundation stones the Romans built upon. The Roman temple is impressive, but it's the supporting wall, the foundation, that defies logic. Here, we find the trilithon, 3 massive finished limestone blocks positioned side by side. Each of these stones weighs an estimated 800 tons. Let that sink in. An 800-ton block. These are considered the heaviest building blocks ever used in construction in the history of the world. Furthermore, in a nearby quarry, there lies the Stone of the South, an even larger finished block weighing an unbelievable 1,000 to 1,200 tons, which was never moved. The mystery is fundamentally an engineering one. How were these 800-ton blocks quarried, transported, lifted, and placed with such accuracy? Even with our most powerful modern equipment, our cranes and heavy machinery, it would be a struggle to move these blocks without shattering them. To accomplish this using ancient techniques requires a monumental effort we simply cannot replicate or even fully understand. The Romans who built the Temple of Jupiter here did not use these stones. They found them and built their temple on top of them, suggesting the megalithic foundation belongs to a much older, forgotten culture. Were these stones meant for a purpose beyond the Roman imagination? The Baalbek trilithon, demands that we pause and seriously reconsider the technological ceiling of the pre-Roman world. We return briefly to Egypt, but not to the famous pyramids. We look instead at a small, unassuming artifact found in a tomb near the Step Pyramid of Djoser, known as the Sakkarra bird. Discovered in 1898, this 6-inch-long wooden object looks like a simple bird carving at first glance. But upon closer inspection, it possesses distinct features that defy its classification as a mere toy or decoration. It lacks the feet of a bird, and crucially, its wings are shaped like those of a modern aircraft wing. They are tapered, thicker at the center, and thinner at the tips. A cambered airfoil shape. This aerodynamic design is essential for generating lift. So the question is, what exactly is the Sakkarra bird? Conventional archaeologists argue it is a simple stylized bird or a weather vane, but aviation enthusiasts and alternative historians point to its highly specific aerodynamic characteristics. If it was an attempt at flight or a model of a flying machine, it suggests the ancient Egyptians possessed knowledge of aerodynamics thousands of years before the invention of the glider. This would imply an incredible leap in understanding of physics, or perhaps evidence of a forgotten technology. The artifact remains in the Cairo Museum, classified as a model of a bird. But the controversy highlights a critical theme in archaeology. Are we willing to accept evidence that challenges our understanding of what was technologically possible in the ancient world? Or do we immediately categorize anomalies like the Sakkarra bird as mere coincidence or ritualistic art, simply because we cannot reconcile it with our historical timeline? We shift now from stone and wood to paper and ink to perhaps the most mysterious book on earth, the Voynich Manuscript. Named after the book dealer who acquired it in 1912, this manuscript is a handwritten, illustrated codex dating back to the early 15th century. It's about 240 pages long, filled with beautiful, strange drawings of plants, astrological charts, pharmaceutical recipes, and bizarre humanoid figures. But its most unique feature is its text. The entire book is written in an unknown language or script that has defied decryption by cryptographers, linguists, and code breakers for over a century, including top minds from World War I and II. The mystery splits into three main possibilities. First, is it a genuine lost language? Analysis shows the script follows linguistic rules. There are consistent patterns and frequencies, suggesting it's not random gibberish. Second, is it a complex hoax or uncrackable cipher? Perhaps it was created by an alchemist or charlatan to sell as a book of secrets. Third, is it a unique language designed for the illustrations, known only to one person or a very small group? The illustrations are just as confusing. The botanical section depicts plants that do not seem to exist on Earth. The astronomical section shows unique cosmological diagrams, and the biological section shows naked women bathing in strange liquid systems. The Voynich manuscript is a window into a mind, a culture, or perhaps even a world that we simply cannot access. It remains a persistent reminder that powerful, complex knowledge can be preserved in plain sight, yet remain entirely impenetrable. Traveling high into the Andes Mountains of Bolivia, near Lake Titicaca, we encounter the site of Pumapunku, part of the Tiwanaku complex. This is arguably the most technologically baffling ruin on our list. Pumapunku is defined by its stonework. The ruins are characterized by thousands of perfectly cut blocks of andesite and red sandstone. The blocks are not just large, they are engineered with a precision that seems alien to their supposed age, around 500 to 600 AD. We're talking about perfect right angles, stones interlocked with complex T-shaped grooves, and the infamous H-blocks. Identical, modular building components cut with such sharp edges and flawless flatness that they look like they were made by a modern water jet or laser cutter. The mystery is twofold. First, the material and tools. Andesite is an extremely hard volcanic rock, second only to diamond in hardness. How did an ancient culture with only rudimentary bronze tools achieve these hyper-precise, hyper-flat, razor-sharp cuts? Bronze tools simply aren't hard enough to work andesite like this. They would quickly dull and deform. The cut suggests sophisticated rotational or high-speed abrasive tools. Second, the modular design. The H-blocks are a clear example of standardized, interchangeable parts, much like a modern construction kit. This suggests an architectural blueprint and manufacturing process that far exceeds anything we attribute to this era. Pumapunku forces us to ask, did the builders possess a forgotten method of softening or manipulating stone? Or did they have access to a technology that was somehow lost to history when the civilization collapsed? The ruins stand today as the ultimate proof that machine-like precision existed in the ancient world. Our final stop is the National Museum of Iraq, home to a small, unassuming artifact known as the Baghdad Battery. This discovery is one of the most controversial pieces of evidence suggesting forgotten ancient technology. The artifact consists of a simple terracotta jar, approximately 6 inches high, containing a copper cylinder held in place by an asphalt plug. Inside the copper cylinder, there was a suspended iron rod. When reconstructed and filled with an acidic liquid like vinegar or grape juice, which would have been readily available in ancient Mesopotamia, this device functions perfectly as a basic galvanic battery, capable of producing a small electrical voltage of about 1.5 to 2 volts. Dating back to the Parthian era, around 250 BC to 224 AD, the discovery raises an explosive question. Did ancient cultures possess knowledge of electricity? If it was indeed used as a battery, the question then becomes, what was it used for? Theories are wide-ranging. Was it used for electroplating, applying a thin layer of gold or silver to objects, a process otherwise thought to have been invented much later? Was it used for medicinal purposes, perhaps a mild form of electrotherapy or pain relief? Or was it simply a series of containers used to store sacred scrolls, with the metals being a secondary function? Conventional archaeology often dismisses it as a simple storage container, but the undeniable functionality as a battery remains. The Baghdad Battery suggests a level of forgotten scientific knowledge that is difficult to reconcile with the traditional historical narrative. It reminds us that our ancestors may have experimented with and mastered forces of nature, like electricity, only to have that knowledge wiped clean by the collapse of empires, leaving behind only the most baffling physical proof. We've now journeyed across continents and time, exploring 12 incredible locations, from the well-trodden grounds of Giza and Stonehenge to the hidden, machine-cut stones of Pumapunku and the silent grottos of Longyou. Now, it's time to move beyond simple description and ask the critical question. What does this tapestry of mystery actually tell us about the human story? Look closely at the evidence we've uncovered. You begin to see 3 recurring, interconnected themes that fundamentally challenge the neat, linear narrative of human history we've been taught. The first theme is impossible precision and scale. Think about the 800-ton blocks of Baalbek, the perfect right angles on the andesite of Pumapunku, and the near-laser precision used to align the Great Pyramid. If the builders only had rudimentary tools, copper chisels, sleds, and muscle, why did they consistently choose the hardest possible materials and the most logistically difficult methods? They were clearly not limited by the materials, but by our current understanding of their technology. It suggests that these ancient people possessed techniques for stonework, perhaps involving methods of sound resonance, chemical softening, or advanced abrasive processes, that we have completely forgotten, forcing us to admit that in some areas, their engineering surpassed our modern equivalents. The true mystery isn't that they built them, but how they built them so fast and so perfectly. This uniformity of high precision across geographically separate cultures, from Egypt to Bolivia, suggests either a shared, lost technological base or an unknown global influence. The second theme is the shattered historical timeline. Göbekli Tepe is the prime example here, a complex, monumental temple built by hunter-gatherers before agriculture. This entirely invalidates the foundation of our civilization model, which states that sedentary life and farming had to precede large-scale architecture. Then you have the Longyou Grottoes, a colossal engineering project executed in total historical silence. These sites prove that sophisticated knowledge, organized labor, and ambitious design were present thousands of years earlier than our textbooks claim. They show us that human history isn't a slow, steady climb. It's a jagged line with sudden, inexplicable peaks of forgotten achievement. The question is, what other peaks of ancient genius have been buried, flooded, or simply ignored because they don't fit our timeline? Finally, the third theme is the fragility of knowledge. The Moai builders destroyed their own ecosystem for an impossible project. The citizens of Plato's Atlantis were wiped out in a single day. The builders of Göbekli Tepe deliberately buried their own sacred masterpiece. The Baghdad battery and the Sakkarra bird hint at forgotten sciences like electricity and aerodynamics. All these phenomena point to the same terrifying conclusion. Knowledge is not permanent. Advanced civilizations can and do collapse completely, and when they fall, the specialized knowledge they held can vanish almost instantly, leaving behind only these baffling, physical anomalies as ghosts of their greatness. The true insight here is the challenge itself. These 12 mysteries are not failures of ancient people, they are failures of our imagination. They force us to be humble and acknowledge that our narrative is incomplete. The past is not simple. It is complex, capable of genius we haven't yet rediscovered, and hiding secrets that redefine the very story of us. The answer is out there, in the rocks, in the soil, and in the forgotten languages, waiting for the next generation to approach history, not with answers, but with a deeper, more profound set of questions. We've seen the impossible. We've faced 12 monumental challenges to our accepted story of human history. From the colossal, machine-cut stones of Pumapunku to the mind-bending timeline of Göbekli Tepe, the message is clear. Mystery is not a failure of history. It is a promise of discovery. The ultimate takeaway is that our ancestors were not primitive. They possessed two things we often overlook: unfathomable dedication and forgotten knowledge. The precision in their engineering, the perfect alignment of Giza, the flawless cuts of Baalbek, proves that they had technological solutions we simply haven't rediscovered yet. The answers to these puzzles are scientific, not mystical. They are waiting for the right person to find the missing key, that lost technique, that forgotten formula. And that's where you come in. This entire field thrives on curiosity and constructive skepticism. The moment we stop accepting simple textbook answers and start asking the difficult questions. How do you move 800 tons with just ropes? Why is the oldest temple intentionally buried? That's the moment we open the door to genuine breakthrough. We need critical thinkers, willing to challenge the status quo, because the current explanations often feel like intellectual shortcuts. So here's your challenge. Challenge your assumptions. The next time you look at an ancient site, look at it as an engineering problem. Ask yourself, what would I need to achieve this impossible feat? And finally, join the conversation and keep digging. Which of these 12 mysteries blew your mind the most? Was it the silence of the Longyou Grottoes or the potential of the Baghdad battery? Let me know in the comments below. Let's discuss the theories and the missing links. If you love diving into the secrets of the past, hit that subscribe button and join our community of curious minds. Keep questioning, keep digging, and never stop being amazed. I'll see you in the next investigation.